Hello everyone, welcome to the ITLS Academy. Today we'll discuss about the topic rheumatology and bone health. So first in this category, let's start with the first disorder, that is the osteoarthritis. So let's know what is osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritis is the most common chronic long-lasting joint condition, and it is the most common form of arthritis affecting millions of people worldwide, and it occurs when protective cartilage that cushions the end of your bones wear down over time. So a joint is where two bones come together and the ends of this bone are covered with a protective tissue that is known as our cartilage. With osteoarthritis, this cartilage, what happens, breaks down, causing the bones within the joint to rub together, and this can cause pain, stiffness and other symptoms. So osteoarthritis most often in older people occurs, although it can occur in adult of any age, and is also called as degenerative joint disease and degenerative arthritis and wear and tear arthritis. So osteoarthritis is caused by joint damage, and this damage can accumulate over time, which is why age is one of the main cause of the joint damage leading to the osteoarthritis. The older you are, the more wear and tear you have had on your joints. So although osteoarthritis can damage any joint, the disorder most commonly affects the joint in your hands, around your knees, hips and spine. The symptoms can usually be managed, although the damage to joint can't be reversed. Staying active, maintaining a healthy weight and some treatment might slow the progression of the disease and help to improve pain and joint function. So osteoarthritis, as I told, it is estimated that nearly more than 2 million people visit to your doctor about discussing about and treatment for osteoarthritis, and these numbers are likely to increase as the population ages, as this condition primarily affects the people aged over 40 years. So let's see some of the causes and symptoms of this osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritis occurs when the cartilage that cushions the ends of the bone in your joint gradually deteriorates. Cartilage is a firm, slippery tissue that enables nearly frictionless joint motion. Eventually, if the cartilage wears down completely, bone will rub on bone. Osteoarthritis have often been referred to as wear and tear disease, but besides the breakdown of cartilage, osteoarthritis affects the entire joint, and it causes changes in the bone and deterioration of the connective tissue that holds the joint together and attach the muscles to the bone. It also causes inflammation of the joint lining. Some of the common symptoms of arthritis includes it results in pain, tenderness, discomfort when pressing on the area with your fingers, stiffness and inflammation. What are the nutritional risk factors? Suppose obesity is the most important. Potentially modifiable risk factor for developing osteoarthritis is weight-bearing joint. For example, increase BMI, body mass index, by 2 kg per meter square increases relatively risk of knee arthritis by 1.36. People with decreased serum vitamin C and D and have increased risk of osteoarthritis, and antioxidant vitamin C play a role in collagen synthesis. So this was the nutritional risk factor that is related to your osteoarthritis. Let's see some of the nutritional advices of this disease, the osteoarthritis. As such, no special diet is indicated in osteoarthritis, and a varied intake compatible with the balance of good health. Weight loss is recommended for those whose BMI index is greater than 25 kg per meter square. Glucosamine, that is glucose with amino group, is a shellfish derived compound described as a nutritional supplement. Patients with advanced osteoarthritis may have difficulty in chopping or preparing food, and as a result their intake and nutritional status may fall due to their conditions, as they could not reach to the market properly. Appropriate support is required in that term. So this was the nutritional advice, that if you're there is no such diet for recommended for this osteoarthritis, and it will be recommended that you should take a good and healthy diet including the fruits and vegetables. And yes, the weight loss is also recommended. Ideally, dietary advice should be combined with the exercise, which is considered the single most important interventions. And also, glucosamine reduce pain. It is not prescribed as considered safe in dose tested. Next disease is your rheumatoid arthritis. This is a chronic autoimmune condition that affects approximately 10 people in 1,000. Joint inflammation causes swelling, pain, muscle weakness, and functional impairment. So rheumatoid arthritis is associated with a greater risk of cardiovascular diseases, and it includes some nutritional risk factor such as systematic review has shown that diet may play a role in etiology of rheumatoid arthritis. A diet providing olive oil, oil-rich fish, fruit and vegetable may be protective, while people with low serum antioxidant level have the increased risk of getting this rheumatoid arthritis. There is no evidence that high coffee intake increases the risk of rheumatoid arthritis, but drinking coffee is frequently associated with the cigarette smoking, which is an independent risk factor for this rheumatoid arthritis. So along with this, there's also occurred the nutritional issue, that some patients with rheumatoid arthritis have a poor nutritional intake with a low intake of energy, macronutrients and fiber, but relatively high level of saturated fat. Poor intake may arises to secondary to loss of appetite and difficulty in preparing food, especially during the period of inflammatory exacerbation. So total energy expenditure in rheumatoid arthritis is lower than in MASH control, mainly because of the reduction in energy expended through the physical activity. The basal metabolic rate may increases during inflammatory exacerbation, but only if expressed per kg lean body mass. So let's see some of the nutritional advices. The patient with rheumatoid arthritis do not need a restricted diet, but should aim to eat a nutritionally adequate intake that is based on balance of good health. Means a healthy diet should be taken by the patient who are suffering from rheumatoid arthritis. Attempt should be made to gently reduce the overweight or conversely to address the undernutrition. Antioxidant, although increases the intake in protective against developing the rheumatoid arthritis, the treatment effects of vitamin C, E and selenium supplements have been disappointing. Dietary sources have been evaluated, but it seems reasonable to recommend a diet that provides a good food source of antioxidant macronutrients, not least because of their benefit in relation to cardiovascular diseases. 5 portions of fruit and vegetable daily will provide this type of nutrition, and that is sufficient for the patient. Folic acid supplement is beneficial in the patient treated with the folate antagonist methotrexate. Exclusion energy diet are frequently followed by rheumatoid arthritis patient, and these may include eliminating meat, dairy product or acidic food or periods of fasting. So patients should be advised to eat a well-balanced diet that provide a good source of micronutrient described and only restrict their intake if there is evidence of benefit. Difficulties also occurs in obtaining, preparing and eating of food should not be underestimated in the patient whose hands or jaws are particularly affected. So advice and practical support from the occupational therapist and dietitian may help to overcome this problem. Next disorder, let's talk about the GOAT. GOAT is a metabolic disorder manifest as an acute joint disease. It is caused by the deposition of urate crystals in the joint, tendons and tissue, leading to the inflammation and severe pain. Pathogenesis and nutritional issue. Firstly, the high serum urate level are associated with increased deposition but do not always lead to GOAT. They may arise from your metabolic, from endogenous purines, metabolism from dietary purines, for example from offal meat, fish, yeast extract, beer and some vegetables, and may arise due to reduced urinary excretion. Also chances occurs as obesity and excessive alcohol intake. Acute chronic is associated with increased endogenous urate production and decreased urinary excretion. 95% of the patient with GOAT also have hyperinsulinemia, and 25 to 60% of the patient with GOAT also have hyperlipidemia. Raised serum urate level are considered a marker of insulin resistance. So these are the pathogenesis of having the person is suffering from any GOAT disease. So let's talk about some nutritional advice that is recommended in this GOAT disorder. First is losing your excess body weight is the first priority. This should be undertaken by modest decreased dietary energy and increase in exercise. Crash dieting may worsen your hyperurinemia and precipitate an attack, so sudden weight loss should be avoided. So aim for the reduction should be 0.5 to 1 kg per week, and this is good if you are losing your weight in this manner. Second is your saturated fat should be replaced by mono and polysaturates, especially if hyperlipidemia is present. Third is advice is an energy restricted diet with decreased fat, that is should consist of 30% energy, decreased carbohydrate and increased protein has been shown to be compatible with weight loss and improvement in GOAT symptoms. Restricting the dietary purines has a limited effect on reducing urate level. Avoiding excessive amount seems reasonable but is less important. So next problem is your systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE. So systemic lupus erythematosus is a chronic autoimmune condition where antibodies attack your connective tissue. So people of all the ages can be affected by it. Is most common in women of childbearing ages. Nutritional issues and advices such as SLE is associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease. A cardioprotective diet of low saturated fat and increased fruit, vegetable and oily fish is recommended to the patient who are well and have a good appetite. So as such, if we talk about the nutritional issue and advice, there is no good evidence that nutrition is implicated in the pathogenesis of this systemic lupus erythematosus. The anti-inflammatory effect of N3 fatty acid may be beneficial because dietary supplementation with approximately 500 mg eicosapentaenoic acid and 350 mg of decohexanoic acid is associated with a significant decrease in systematic lupus activity measures, and this is equivalent to eating oily fish, twice per week. Next is your corticosteroid may used in long-term treatment, and SLE patient taking them have increased risk of osteoporosis. So they should be advised to consume an adequate intake of dietary calcium and vitamin D and increase weight bearing exercise. Means 1 pint of semi skimmed whole milk provides the reference nutrient intake for women aged 19 to 50 years. For example, 700 mg calcium. Some patients with SLE may develop renal failure and may need specific dietary modification, and individual advice should be given by renal dietitian. Now last one is your osteoporosis. So osteoporosis generally refers to your thinning of the bones that mainly affects 3 million people in every country, predominantly those who are greater than 50 years, and it is associated with 230,000 bone fractures annually. The nutritional risk factor includes firstly the generally poor diet including inadequate calcium and vitamin D intake, high alcohol intake. Third is malabsorption, for example celiac disease, Crohn's disease. However, most risk factors are not nutrition related. Early menopause, family history and treatment with corticosteroid immobility. What are the preventions through an optimum diet? So peak bone mass is reached in adolescence and young adulthood, that is decades before most people are concerned about the osteoporosis. It cannot be increased in later life, so good early bone health is essential. Calcium intake should meet the reference nutrient intake, and it is estimated that approximately 10% for the boys and 20% for the girl fail to meet these recommendations, and that up to 16% of women have a calcium intake that is greater than 400 mg per day. An adequate dietary intake will accelerate the age-related bone loss and contribute to osteoporosis. Vitamin D is required in calcium metabolism. It is obtained from an adequate, you can obtain this vitamin D by adequate exposure to sunlight. For example, face and arm 30 minutes per day in direct sunlight between April to October. And there is recent concern that many people do not achieve this, and the result have a poor vitamin D status. You can take vitamin D by your dietary source also, and there is no reference nutrient intake value for this age 1 to 65 years. Next is excessive alcohol intake should be avoided for this condition, and safe limit should be less than 2 to 1 units a week per week for men and less than 14 units per week for women. Weight bearing exercise including brisk walking is recommended at least 3 times 20 minutes weekly. Recent studies have suggested that a low vitamin K intake and high salt protein and vitamin A intake are detrimental to bone health. Next is nutritional management. So when osteoporosis is diagnosed, management should include review of dietary adequacy. All postmenopausal women should aim for dietary intake of calcium of 1000 mg per. Housebound frail elderly women should receive 1000 to 1200 mg calcium and 20 microgram vitamin D daily. Men with history of low bone mineral density or fracture should receive 500 mg calcium and 10 micro mg vitamin D daily. Anti-resorptive medication is less effective, and when calcium and vitamin D level are low, it is recommended that most patients should receive all the three together. Calcium supplements are available as tablet, effervescent tablet, chewable tablets, granules and syrup. As the required dose is large, the tablets are usually of considerable size and major side effects are rare, but some gastrointestinal symptoms may occur. Splitting the daily dose into smaller quantities and altering the time of dosing, for example, before or after food, may helpful. Combined calcium and vitamin D preparation are available. So thank you for being with us. I hope you have understood all the rheumatology and bone health and what are the nutrition required for your bone related problem. For more information related to this, you can log on to our website www.itlsacademy.com and register yourself. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, LinkedIn, and yes, do not forget to subscribe our channel ITLS Academy at YouTube. Thank you.